Hi, this is Peter Bourassa from MMR and MMRsite.com, and we're here at Amelia Island with Joe Freeman, who's the owner and driver of this 1915 Duesenberg race car, and Joe's going to tell us a little bit about it. Joe.
Well, it's a great car. It was built by the Duesenbergs in 1915. Took second in the Indianapolis 500 in 1916 with Wilbur Daleen driving. It was sold to a customer who raced it on board tracks around the country, and then he raced it on dirt tracks, and it basically was campaigned actively. He sold it to another man who also raced it into the 30s, and then it was retired. The second guy who owned it was a circus guy. His name was Loop the Loop Lou Hoyt, and he had bears. He used to drive his pet bear around in it, and he actually drove it 70 miles an hour on the frozen Hudson River at one year. So, but it was he died, and it was found in a garage in 1941, and it basically has remained the same since. So it is the second oldest and definitely the most original early Duesenberg racer.
Joe, tell me a little bit about this car. Raced for a long time, you say, but was it a competitive car that made money? I mean, is that why people raced it, or was it like vintage racing today?
Well, I think I know that Jimmy Benedict was a very competitive guy, the guy who first owned it after the Duesenberg sold it. And he raced it on the board tracks, finished 5th to some of the best drivers in the world, including Dario Resta, Johnny Aitken, and Reddy Rickenbacker and others. But when he came to the dirt tracks, he was very competitive, and he won a lot with this car. But yeah, they were looking for money.
So this car paid its way?
Pretty much, I would think, yeah. I mean, once they got it running, it would go. And Lou Hoyt was the same. He raced it, as I say, up into the 30s. But it's kind of an American icon, really.
Yeah, it is.
It's very rare and very wonderful, and I'm just preserving it for the future. I just love it. It also handles beautifully. You put this on a track,
yeah,
and on an oval track, and she handles it like she just wants to be there.
But you've driven this car?
Oh yes, many times. At Laguna Seca on the road course there, at New Hampshire on the mile, at Milwaukee on the mile.
Right.
We drove it at Savannah. We've driven it at a lot of different places. So it's a load of fun.
Tell me, have the safety features been updated since 1915? Just a thought. I mean, we want to get you on film, because if you're going to race this again, I just noticed it's not much of a roll bar.
It has a seat belt, and that's it.
Really?
I mean,
that's it.
Well, when you're in a car without a roll bar, you drive the car as though you don't have a roll bar. You don't you don't overdo it. But anyway, it's a wonderful car, and it actually is fairly safe. I mean, I would think, going 120 miles an hour or 110 miles an hour for 3 hours on Sheepshead Bay, it wouldn't be so safe. I mean, they were running high compression, and there were a lot of fires and crashes in those days, and people were badly hurt. But this car survived, and I love it.
That leads to another question, and that's this engine, which is massive. What is the engine, and how much horsepower do you think it might have put out when they were racing it?
It's a 300 cubic inch 4-cylinder engine called a walking beam. It has very long valve lifters that come in from the sides, and it's 300 cubic inches, as I said, very unique. There are only 2 of these engines in existence now. It put out about 100 horsepower, maybe a little more than 100 horsepower.
That's incredible.
On lousy gasoline and lousy oil and stuff, but it was powerful in the day.
It's difficult to conceive that in 1915 there's a 100 horsepower car. And now today, we're looking at cars like smart cars and smart cars like that, where we're talking about 100 horsepower being a pretty optimum level. And they had that in 1915.
Absolutely. Well, people don't realize, but the technology, the modern technology of most 4-cylinder cars was actually invented in 1912. A double overhead camshaft, 4-valve per cylinder French car, the Peugeot, was invented. And actually this engine is the second version of the Duesenberg engine, and this was made to compete with those engines. They realized that when those fancy newer engines came out, they had to work to make this a little more powerful. So that's how they did it. Put 16 valves in it and made it up the compression and made it go fast.
Well, for those of us who have been to a number of these car shows, I mean, this is unique. I've never seen anything like this. But is it that I just haven't traveled? Are there a number of these about?
No. There's only one other car of the Duesenbergs of this era. It's in the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum.
Okay.
It has its correct engine, but the transmission and other parts of the car are not original. So
wow.
So this is the last. This is the most original.
I see.
It has its original transmission and its original drive gear and I mean everything about it. Frame, bodywork, you name it. It's there. It's original.
If something breaks on something this original, you can't get parts.
No, we have to machine it. Several years ago, I was driving it and it cracked its block, and we had to spend 5 years recasting a new block and the machining and getting it back to order. So which was not an inexpensive nor been very time consuming, required an enormous amount of expertise, and the man who does the work on it, Dave Greenlease, just was a brilliant engineer and really did a fantastic job working on the car.
Great.
So,
well, Joe, thank you very much for spending this time with us and,
that's great.
And for preserving this piece. It's just a tremendous treasure. Thank you.
That's what I'm doing, is saving it for the future generations.
Well, thank you so much.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you.